Hi guys, Jared here, and I'd like to talk about some news that I saw that I found very interesting. So I saw, apparently, recently, Matthew Lillard, who of course played Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, and he's now actually the voice of Shaggy in the cartoons. He was asked if they do like a Scooby-Doo 3 of them older, and he said he would like to do it. And yeah, if you don't know, the first two live action movies were actually written by James Gunn, who would later be known, of course, for directing Guardians of the Galaxy. And apparently, he said, he thinks the third one would be possible. And if you don't, and he said the third one could be rated R, or aimed more at an adult audience, which this one was originally supposed to be more aimed at an adult audience, but then they made it more for kids because they realised that kids would want to see a Scooby-Doo movie. So James Gunn has said that he thinks an R-rated Scooby-Doo 3 could be possible. Now, I own the VHS tape of the first movie, and I really have a lot of fun with this movie. I love this movie. I mean, the second one, The Monsters Unleashed, I don't enjoy that one quite as much, but it can be kind of fun. But this movie, I don't care what anyone says, this movie is awesome. This movie's 20 years old this year. It's hard to believe. But yeah, this is 20 years old this year, believe it or not. But yeah, I think the reason it was originally supposed to be more adult oriented was because before that there was a movie called Josie and the Pussycats, which was also based on an old cartoon, and the cartoon of course was for kids, but the Josie and the Pussycats movie was aimed more at an adult audience. So I guess they tried to do the same with Scooby-Doo. But the thing is, I think Josie and the Pussycats is more known among people of a certain generation. It wasn't as much known among kids of that time. Whereas Scooby-Doo was still very popular among kids in the early 2000s, so they realised that kids would want to see a Scooby-Doo movie. But there's still sort of adult edge in the movie, which is it's a very silly movie, and that's kind of why I have fun with it. I mean, as it has adult edge, but the humour is very, very childish, in all honesty. But, I think that's why I prefer this one over the second one, because the second one started life as a kids' movie, whereas this one started life as a more adult-oriented film. So I guess that's why. But I guess now, because it's 20 years on, and kids who grew up with these movies have now grown up, I think that's why now it might be a good time to do a third one that's more adult-oriented. So yeah, and I honestly, I'm a big fan of this movie. Honestly, I always really enjoy it, and I would be interested in seeing it. And another thing, with it being originally more adult oriented, I think for years it was kind of a rumor, but a few years ago James Gunn actually did confirm it, that it was true. But he did say that he still has fond memories of the Scooby-Doo movies, even though they changed them to make them more for kids. And if you think about it, the actors who played the mystery gang, they did a great job, don't get me wrong, but if you think about it, all these actors, at the time, they were mainly known for acting in more teen-oriented stuff, so it made sense to cast them in this, which was meant to be a more adult, edgy version of Scooby-Doo. And you might think as by the way, the director of the first two live action movies, these days he's not an extremely well known director, but he's mostly associated with directing really trashy kids movies, particularly kids movies that have CGI talking animals or talking Smurfs in them. So you might think, if this was originally meant to be more for adults, why did they get a kids movie director to direct this? Well, the reason why is because these days he makes more kids movies, but at the time, this was only the fourth movie he ever directed. He directed 3 movies before this. The 3 movies he directed before this were Home Alone 3, Never Been Kissed, and Big Mama's House. And out of those 3, Home Alone 3 is the only one that's really a kids' movie. So I think this was the movie that made him into, being associated with directing kids' movies. So yeah, I mean, I would be interested in seeing a third one that's aimed more at an adult audience. And they'll probably bring back, these main actors and having them be older. It's been 20 years. Yeah, they'll bring them back. One person who's in this, who I would like to see bring. I don't know if they'll bring him back, but Rowan Atkinson was in this movie, and I think it would be cool if they brought him back to do this, because he's still doing stuff today. He did that new Man vs. Bee thing on Netflix, and a few years ago he did the last Johnny English movie. So he's still doing stuff 20 years later. As I don't know if these people are doing much these days. Rowan Atkinson's still doing stuff, and I would like to see him be brought back for the third one if they do it, because he's one of my favorite comedians, really, and one of my favorite people in general. In terms of his real life personality. So yeah, what do you guys think? Would you be interested in seeing a third one that's more adult oriented? Let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.